Hey everybody, I want to make a video about my blog that I recently posted. You want to automate, but where to start? That's in the developer section of Cisco blogs. And in this blog I talk about getting started with UCS PowerTool. And one of the barriers, I guess, to getting started with something or programming with something is, how do you start? Obviously, how do I write my first piece of code? What's my hello world program? And if I don't really know the system, what are the tools available to me? So the blog talks about using something called ConvertTo-UcsCmdlet to pull out a configuration from UCS Manager and then have UCS PowerTool write those codes or write those commandlets out for you, the codes that you'll need. So what we're going to do in this video is follow along with the blog. I'm going to make a boot policy and then use ConvertTo-UcsCmdlet to write out the commands for that. So let me just move this out of the way. And UCS PowerTool, before we get started with doing the process here, UCS PowerTool is available from Cisco.com or software.cisco.com in the Downloads, Products, Servers, Unified Computing, UCS Management Partner Ecosystem, UCS Integrations. I'm using the 2.3.1 version of the software that came out on November 17th, 2017. And I've installed it, and I have my icons down here for UCS PowerTool on the quick launch bar. I have UCS PowerTool, UCS Central, and the IMC PowerTool for the standalones. Let's go ahead and start that guy up for the UCS PowerTool for UCS Manager. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect to the UCS in my data center. And once I connect with PowerTool, I'll get back the display of the UCS PowerTool PowerShell session object. It's got a bunch of information here, and I'll do in a later video. I'll explain what all these pieces of information are. I already have UCS Manager 3.2.1D loaded on my system. This is a UCS mini system. I have two chassis, a few blades in there. And I go ahead and make this boot policy, and I'm going to make it in the graphical interface. I know that seems counterintuitive because we want to learn how to program, but I'm going to go ahead and make this in the graphical interface, and then we'll use this object that I just made to make other boot policies. And I'm going to go ahead and call this local DVD and then vert. So I'm going to attempt to boot, or this boot policy is going to attempt to boot from a local disk. If nothing's available, it'll boot from the local DVD, CD-ROM, and then if that's not available, then it will boot from a virtual media that's been mapped. So we'll grab in some local LUNs and just say any, and we're going to grab in the local CD DVD, and then we're going to go ahead and mount some virtual media. And we'll add the SIMC mounted CD DVD. And when we look at our object that we have here, it's a local LUN, local CD DVD, and then SIMC mounted CD DVD. I'll just say OK. And OK on the successful creation dialog. So I have this boot policy in there now, and I'm going to go ahead and go back to my UCS Manager for PowerTool. And I'm going to say get UCS boot policy. I can use tab completion. Name local. It is case sensitive, so you do have to spell it correctly. And when I run that get commandlet, I get the policy back. So it shows me a little bit about the policy. Now, a boot policy, if we look at it in the UCS Manager, the boot policy itself has a hierarchy associated with it. There's a number of devices that are associated with it, and it's not just the top level object that we're interested in, but we're actually interested in the entire object itself and all the children objects underneath it. So I do that same get command, and this time I add the hierarchy parameter to the end, and I get back not just the top level object of the boot policy itself, but then all the children boot policy objects itself, the virtual media policy, the local disk policy, the local CD DVD policy. So now that I know that I'm getting back the entire object, not just the top level object, but the object and all its children, I can say get UCS boot policy with the name local DVD vert and the hierarchy specified. Now I'll take that and I say convert to UCS commandlet. And the commandlets that would be required to make this boot policy are displayed to me, or to make this exact boot policy. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is take this and put that into something, we'll call it new-boot, or new UCS, new-UCS boot policy .ps1. And we can go ahead and edit that. All right, so we have this boot policy called new UCS boot policy.ps1, and I'm going to go ahead and change the name of the boot policy from local DVD vert to, just make it easy, we'll call it test boot POL, and I'm going to save that. So there's my new boot policy, and we're going to go ahead and run it. Let me just bring up the boot policy window. And we'll put this right here to the side. So I'm already logged into UCS Manager. You know, the script itself, to be more self-contained, would probably require an import of the UCS module, credential collection, and then signing into UCS Manager. But just to show you that we can, in this session, create something, get the commandlets, change a little bit within there, and then run it and have it create something, I think is a good first step. So I run it, and it goes ahead and creates test boot policy. So that's really all there is to it. Create the object, extract the object, and make sure you get the full object with the dash hierarchy flag, and then run that through ConvertTo-UcsCmdlet, and do something with those commands that came out, and you're on your way. Thanks so much for taking a look.